But gaming has not been forgotten about by any stretch. Aaron, before we dive into the deck here in this session, anything you want to mention? Singapore or just general kind of state of the industry, since we're fresh off of a big event.
It's just good to chat with other builders in the space. That's for me what gives me hope. I think everyone who's weathered the bear, is prepared, I think, for the next 6 to 12 months and ready to kind of, I don't know, it was one of the first conferences in quite some time where there was both like optimism and hope around where things are headed, coupled with more and more builders, I think, are beginning to understand the challenges of working in this space and building successful, sustainable projects. And so that in and of itself is helpful. For a long time, we were one of the few really out there and live. And now as more and more people go live, I have other builders coming and saying, wow, this is very hard. I can't believe you guys have been doing it for so long, right? And so it's good to have other people really in the dark forest with us now, learning and kind of growing. And again, there's a backdrop of kind of optimism that I think is promising. But that dose of reality, it is very difficult. It is very hard. It is very challenging. We are certainly going to see, projects that, either fail to ship or ship and fail. And we're going to see that time and time again, just given the high risk of this space and the fact that there are just no templates available for anyone to just kind of take and apply. And so that was good. It's always helpful to get out there, speak with other builders who are struggling with many of the same things that we've struggled with. See exciting new experiences in games coming. Like obviously you and I went to the Duper event with Nanessa. That was enjoyable, a lot of fun. Obviously I beat out Mitch and their own game designer to win, which was kind of exciting. But it's good to see, again, these new, unique, and kind of novel experiences coming that are not just free-to-play templates. So really excited to see, further progress from this kind of next generation of games, for sure.
Yeah, it also seems like there's a lot of people kind of banking, so to speak, on this macro cycle coming together. A lot of people have plans to launch tokens, but are timid to do TGEs right now when market is still a little choppy. So people have been saying this for a while, but very much reaffirmed I think there's going to be a lot of tokens coming out, both gaming, non-gaming related. That's like sort of the secret meta right now that everyone's plotting for and finding ways to kick down the road until some of that euphoria kicks in. So anyway, I just wanted to share some of the high level stuff for those that couldn't make it to Singapore. Very party central too. I must be getting old because I'm getting over the crypto party thing. I just want to sit somewhere quiet and talk about technology. Have like one beer, man. I don't need the party culture that seems to be exploding on Solana, but hey, to each their own. All right, let's dive into this. Thanks for entertaining us there. The future of crypto unicorns, next steps forward. Thank you for joining us today, folks, because this is a big one. Aaron's going to kick us off with the first couple slides here, and then we're going to go back and forth as we go through this. Of course, we'll have questions at the end. I'm going to be monitoring along, trying to answer and take real-time questions as they're relevant to what we're talking about. But of course, at the end, we will be chatting and answering any of your burning questions. So Aaron, let's jump on into it, man. The future of CU.
Sounds good.
All righty, here we go. Oh, did my presentation freeze? No, there we go. All right. Unicorns versus shadow coins.
You're not on the latest and greatest, sir.
This is, oh, okay. Sorry, do you want to send me a link? That's my bad. I thought this was the, geez. Man, without Sparkly, we're truly a disaster. Okay, let me reset my screen share here. Sorry, folks.
Link sent. Bear with us. Again, without Sparkly, yeah, we're just an absolute shambles this morning.
Oh, yeah, this is the old deck. How did I manage to do that? My bad. All right, we're coming back here, gang. Everything changes. Even Discord changed. Now I have to click on the window that I want to select. It's so different. Okay. Can you guys see our new presentation? Looks like it. Okay, yep. Cool.
Alrighty, let's kick this thing off. I guess as a start, we don't want to bury the lead, so let's rip the first bad news Band-Aid off. Friday, I was informed that the Xi Foundation is going to be ending the grant funding for crypto unicorns. I speak with the foundation lead tonight, and we will inform the community after in terms of the exact wind down date. It will not be immediately, is what I was told. It will not be immediate, but it will be soon. This spiraled out of control coming out of a bunch of negative sentiment that kind of blew up in the Xi Discord, where they had a bunch of screenshots of many of you in Sirius talking about dumping Xi, not being very long-term supportive, let's just say. And so that created its own mess. Obviously, I had several conversations with the team over there to try to get through that. But generally, that is kind of spiraled. Whether you see it or not in Discord, it's also happening in their Discord, and it became
a version of Sirius chat.
Yeah, exactly. And it spiraled out of my ability to kind of control that, just given, obviously the size of that grant is also a big deal to them. So. Again, timeline on this to wrap it up. We'll let you guys know as soon as I've had that meeting later today, and you will have the final timeline on when the Xi grant officially will end. Next slide, please. So on the fully on-chain game, we have a product specification for Battle for the Dark Forest. We also have design documentation as well as work in progress code. I know the Shadow Forge, like Ritual Recycler and stuff, is very close to shipping. We're going to be releasing all of this and open sourcing it for the community to evaluate. As you guys are going to see throughout kind of the rest of this, it is going to become very much on y'all as to whether or not you want to direct the remaining resources towards a new game, SJs or Johns perhaps, or if you would like to continue putting resources towards the fully on-chain game. Personally, this is of course where my passion is and where my excitement is. Obviously, we're just not going to be in a position to build it. So here's the update as far as that's concerned. Next steps.
Yeah, I can take over here. So we've got a few steps in mind for what happens to CU. We've talked about this before, but the core concept is transition.
Andrew?
Did I skip? Oh my gosh, you're right. I'm so sorry.
Again, absolute shambles this morning. Sparkly, come back.
I really am.
So first big one, obviously there's going to be no more Laguna burn. Over the next 45 days, we're going to be removing our burn from the CU Treasury. This will ensure that the Treasury still has money in it and the ability to continue funding the IP itself. Again, we're going to be open sourcing any of the contracts that haven't been open sourced to date and releasing associated code, and the remaining product specifications will also be open sourced. So those are a couple of high level steps. Obviously, there's some small operational things, around managing the DAO, etc. As a result of that, we'll be putting forward a very minor monthly expense kind of going forward, but it will ultimately be up to the DAO to decide whether or not to continue funding that. But you should look at this as kind of what the community was calling for about a month ago, which is LG stepping back from CU. Cool.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, everything open source just means everything that we have, we want to hand over so that it can be utilized to its fullest potential by any community members that want to use it or not. It'll just be there as one more asset. So additional next steps, transition to a traditional NFT project. Obviously, the NFTs aren't going anywhere, right? They still exist. So this is more comparable to something like a Doodles or a Pudgies or a Sappy Seals, where things can still be done with this artwork and the concept of the IP. It's just a much higher supply. So the fluffy upside is that, well, the floor is probably pretty cheap and a lot more people can own unicorns than they could in these 10K collections. That said, we're going to continue focusing on the real life IP expansion. We've been talking about this a lot. We have some stuff that will show you here later on in the deck. But all of the plans for merch and content licensing still continue on. We've mentioned this in past town halls, but those things really have a sunk cost. You know, that trailer costs what it costs to make. Now that it's made, we have it. The ongoing cost to continue pitching those things is really pretty minor compared to the upfront cost of getting them created. Same with kind of the vinyl toy plan that we have for the blind box concept. That's still going to continue on because it's already in production. Building the legacy through storytelling. We've always been excited about this. I think the merchandise and toys and stuff still have a chance to do something. Obviously, if you try to calculate the expected value, they are long shot type things, but I think they have a chance to succeed still. And really, from a licensing storytelling perspective, pretty unaffected by this. You know, Netflix doesn't really care about the efficacy of the game, so to speak. It's more about the IP and will people resonate with it and will they watch it and all that kind of stuff. So that is one iron that we still have in the fire. Kind of doubling down here on that concept, I'm excited to show you guys the work in progress and actually reveal this full trailer, because I think we're finally on the right path here, and I wish that we'd been able to do this stuff just a little bit faster and sooner. The blind box toys are an idea that Mitch had originally seeded, and then we took it and molded it and kind of updated it a little bit. And I think we landed on something that kind of makes sense. Unicorns and shadowcorns, that whole thesis of, hey, these are just general creatures that resonate very well, cross-culture, cross-language, all that stuff, still holds completely true. It's actually nuts how popular unicorns are in general. So here are, now this is obviously a digital mock-up, right? This is sort of a render of what it could look like, but this is what we're talking about with the blind box unicorns. They'll have an egg that has a class, and then there's the 9 different unicorns inside that you can pop open. So cute little collectibles, about 2 inches tall. They fit on a desk. Here's another working prototype. This is not a final product. This is just a prototype to show how it could work. Always important to mention that with these things. Work in progress is very different from the final thing. There is also a 10th rare pull that you can get. And the idea here is that these are focused at quote unquote normies, right? Very traditional Amazon-like distribution. And the directive to our merch licensing guy was, our audience existing may or may not buy this. The win here is getting regular people that don't know anything about crypto unicorns to see this and go, oh my God, that unicorn's so cute. I have to buy it for, you know, insert use case here, insert stocking stuffer here. Here's another concept of the vinyl toys. Now these are clearly digital renders. The boxes have not been designed yet, but that comes later once we have the toys, but just gives you kind of a general concept of what they could look like in the box outside of the egg. Super cute. I love the Kinder Surprise. So we have the animated series here. I don't think the audio is going to play through Discord, so I'm just going to click this and play a couple seconds of it. We will drop this for you guys to watch on your own, but just want to give you guys a little preview of what this full trailer looks like. And maybe you guys can hear it. Last time I did this on Discord, audio did not come through. But really, really happy with this. We had posted like a 9-second clip in Discord before. Just incredible how well the animation team ended up nailing the likeness of the unicorns. So I'll post this here in just a moment. But this is continuing to test well and trend well. It's a very long process of trying to sell a trailer like this to a network to get a green light to actually make a show. If we do, obviously it's going to take a while to make the whole series. So this is very much a long play, but this is how you do it. We are on the path, and I still remain excited about the potential with this stuff. And I think that takes us back to you, Aaron. There we go.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so talking about kind of the DAO going forward, obviously it lives on. It's designed to kind of live forever, right? So, you know, the DAO itself will continue to retain full control of the remaining treasury as well as the liquidity in the DEX. And obviously token holders are going to continue to decide how to manage those assets and what direction we take from here. To push community control even further, we're going to be shifting to exclusively quadratic voting. This will effectively eliminate the supermajority that LG has currently. And this will ensure a more balanced and community-driven decision-making process going forward. There's been kind of cries to increase even further the level of transparency that we have around budget and treasury. You're getting that with this new shift. So there will no longer be a blank check to Laguna around this stuff. And generally, I look forward to seeing people in the forums carrying this forward. Next slide, please. I think it's critical to look ahead when thinking about where this goes. It's very important to understand that the Treasury itself, with about 700,000 in ETH in it, the DEX pool with about 340K in ETH backing it, we're still, I think, on the cusp of a bull market here. I think we'll all look back, and I missed it by about 90 days. And so the end-all, be-all reality here is that the Treasury value, the DEX value should grow. I think it grows to a couple $1 million combined. And that gives, necessary incentives and runway to the project to continue forward. And ideally, with the growth of IRL revenue, right? Because that's the key difference between us and, say, Pudgies. Like in Pudgies, if a Penguin NFT is leveraged in licensing, that holder gets a small rev share. The reality of this going forward is that 50% of all revenue driven by this by any of these efforts, whether it's toys, the TV series, etc., all of those efforts are going to go towards the Treasury, right? 50% will go to the Treasury, 50% will be used to buy back and burn CU on an ongoing basis. So nothing changes about that. And obviously these IRL things, which have taken a long time to put together and are now close to coming to fruition, there is this opportunity above and beyond your average NFT project, above and beyond your average kind of gaming NFT project, to see revenue flow in and directly, support both the token as well as, again, individual licensing deals should your specific unicorn or unicorns be selected. So still going to go through casting call processes and things of that nature. Cool. Next slide, please.
What's next?
We're going to be putting forward a couple of proposals. I think it's necessary to look at what we need to do with the remaining play to earn CU rewards. I'm going to be proposing the idea that we take a third of the remaining rewards, we put it into effectively a HODL leaderboard that is going to be applied against a exponential decay curve. So on a cadence, let's say monthly, you're going to see an asset drop, effectively this reoccurring airdrop or UBI, if you will, against those who are still holding NFTs. I think it's important to understand that NFT holders are certainly not getting a good deal here, which sucks. So this is an opportunity, I think, to make up for the loss in reward since the core game went down. Again, the community can vote this through or choose to not do something like this, but I do think this mechanism design is worth entertaining. The remainder of the play to earn rewards I'm going to propose go to the ecosystem fund to effectively top that up. And it will effectively empower the DAO to utilize those tokens going forward to, let's say, seed community projects, let's say SJ's or John Paragon's games with rewards, as well as any other funding the community feels is may or may not be necessary for those projects, as well as others in the future. And so this will come forward in two proposals. One, this, and anyway, looking forward to feedback on that front and then seeing if we can't get these to snapshot and get this established. LG would obviously finish this out as a part of our handoff in terms of actually, setting this up and making sure that there's ongoing support for it going forward.
Yeah, I'm excited to see in the forums what folks think about this, but it seems like a really elegant way to just simplify the whole ecosystem. I mean, even in the past, people have gotten their lines crossed about the difference between the play to earn fund, the ecosystem fund, and all this stuff. And this helps to just simplify it and turn it into DAO has treasury, treasury have money, money can be spent according to DAO's whim, and just kind of keep it simple. What's next for Laguna Labs? We're going to be shifting our focus officially away from crypto unicorns, outside of closing out those few things that Aron mentioned and open sourcing everything. And we will be shifting our focus to Neo Olympus, formerly known as Gods of Olympus. We have secured funding to get that off the ground. We've got the necessary grant to get all that in motion, and we're really excited about it. And we've been kicking this idea around for a while, and we found the right tech and protocol, I think, to really bring it to life in a way that's vibrant and exciting, and something that very few other projects are focused on. So excited about the future with Neo Olympus, now that that's gone from a drawing board idea to something that's actually funded and taking legs. So as part of that, there will be a number of mints associated with Neo Olympus, but the first one is going to be a really important kind of core base asset for the ecosystem. So for anyone that's excited to join us in this next part of the journey, we're working on the strategy for whitelist slots, and we'll have a whole bunch of those allocated towards the CU community. And I think pretty much anyone in CU that wants one will be able to get one, is the way the numbers are looking right now. Don't quote me on that to a T, but if you're really excited to join us for Neo Olympus, I think we can certainly find a way to make it happen. So big change in the air for Laguna Labs, and in some ways there are a few community members getting exactly what they want with the shift of quadratic voting and us kind of stepping out of the fold in terms of burn. A lot of power handed over to the DAO, and there's still enough money locked up in the DEX pool and the treasury and everything else that I'm excited, scared, intrigued, all of the above, to see how that unfolds, and which major players come up with ideas to utilize that capital and kind of fight over it. So some exciting times ahead, but big change in the air. And here's our conclusion slide that kind of summarizes the major beats. For those that joined us late, the Zy grant will be coming to an end. Exact time frame unknown, but it's not going to be like instant or anything like that. There's going to be some little buffer period here so we can figure things out. Treasury going to be now fully in the community hands. Quadratic voting is a huge deal in terms of shifting the power structure and breaking up our supermajority. The potential for this final HODL leaderboard, that will be a DAO proposal, so that's certainly not locked in. That's just a suggestion that we're putting forward. The DAO will be able to decide if we want to do that and inflate more CU tokens or do something else. As an example, the DAO could say, hey, let's just burn the rest of the play to earn fund and cut the supply down even more. I don't know that that's the best path, but that's something that could be discussed and totally put forward. So if anything, it's more of a blank canvas in terms of next step. And obviously, our big shift here to Neo Olympus with funding secured. Anything I missed there, Aron, on the final slides?
No, I don't think so. Let's not pretend that this is what anybody wanted here, so I won't try to make light of, what is not a good situation. Obviously, I'm going to go in today to chat with the Zy Foundation lead and advocate for as much of a wind down period as possible. I will push to try to see if the CULP Zy rewards can be paid out through the first year of that. Through the first year, I don't know or really think I can get that. I certainly don't have a lot of leverage in this case, but at the end of the day, I'm going to try what I can to ensure that we kind of close out that grant and leave us in the best place I possibly can, just given the current situation. Obviously, LG will be winding off burn within the next 45 days. I think there will be some ongoing management efforts of, say, the DAO, the multi-sigs, the websites, the marketplace, like things like that. We're not going to just completely leave in a lurch at all. There will be some ongoing support there. And obviously, that's something that we'll negotiate with the DAO and ensure that, again, we're not just leaving this in a lurch. So yeah, happy to take questions or address any concerns that people might have. This is certainly the end of an era, and I think on our end, we're very hopeful that that it's the beginning of a new one here, both for CU as well as Laguna Labs.
Nebbiolo mentioned
Any questions?
what will happen with the CU owned by Laguna. I guess the short answer is kind of nothing, right? We're still going to own it. We're still a voting member of the DAO, but the key thing with every proposal being quadratic voting, we don't have the supermajority anymore. But I think we're still going to hang on to those CU tokens, correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Yeah. So we'll hang on to those. Just scrolling here through questions. Time Traveler said, I thought the Xi rewards for CULP were from a Xi node. Did we lose the node as well? I don't recall us. Did we have nodes?
We actually still run a data availability node for them, but no, it's not associated with running that node at all. It was associated with the deal that we made at the end of last year, which certainly gave them the right to pull it if we did not make or meet certain criteria. And I can say they've been incredibly fair on that front. And again, it really hit hard. The number of times I've gone in here and told the community, like, don't tell people how much we have, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, those were real requests from Xi. Given the kind of phenomenal deal that we got it because we negotiated it prior to their TGE, and I may be slightly good at my job, right? And again, the negative sentiment that came out of our Sirius channel really caused problems for them over there, because it showed the Xi community how much of a grant we had. It showed other potential partners how much of a grant that we had. And it spiraled. And the ultimate conclusion is this wind down of the Xi grant. Again, I'm going to go in and fight to try to get the CULP rewards paid out. I do not think I'm going to be able to achieve that, but I will go to bat one more time for this in front of John Shipman, who runs the Xi Foundation.
Yeah, and also just worth highlighting that Xi is based on a similar ethos that we are. It's DAO driven, and their structure is a little bit different than ours. They have more holders and all this, but these are DAOs doing business with DAOs. So it's not like some guy at the top of Xi said, "All right, I'm turning it off." This is like a decentralized mechanism, right? So if their entire community sees us as vultures, or insert negative word here, that is part of the issue, right? So Aron and the high level folks can only do so much on a biz dev front. There's also this community kind of political game that has to take place, as both DAOs can kind of go back and forth and pass proposals and do various things. This is all part of the exciting experimental gray area. And I think as a community, we probably could have done a better job in that political simulator, so to speak. Certainly could have done more on the Xi Discord and just been a little bit more like, hey, we're partners, instead of some of the screenshots pasted together don't make us look very, very friendly or excited about Xi. So I get it. I see why community members on that side could spiral on that and then try to escalate it. So just keep that in the back of your mind. This wasn't like a centralized one-person decision. This is the byproduct of DAOs doing business with DAOs and how quickly things can change if one of those parties spirals in a negative way.
Yeah, and I mean, again, they to their credit, they fought for us. They pushed through that period, because this was roughly, I guess, a month or so ago, but it continued to kind of spiral, and certainly kind of came to a head. And again, obviously, we had the treasury blow up, which is my fault, right? We also had struggles. This is not at all us saying, "Oh, it's all y'all," the community's fault or Sirius's fault. It's not at all, but it was a contributing factor, and I do think it's important to recognize that, especially in a DAO-centric world where DAOs, like you said, Andrew, DAOs are doing business with DAOs, what you say is actually important and does influence things more so than I think many people realize. So certainly a lesson we learned, right here.
Island Girl says, if the CULP Zyori rewards are not able to get paid out due to the grant loss, could funding be swapped from the Treasury to cover the rewards for CULP and leaderboard CULP rewards? I think the answer is yes. Basically, in this new world, if it passes the DAO, absolutely, yeah. We could decide, hey, let's just liquidate the Treasury and pay it all out right now. That's probably not the best path forward or most sustainable, given that it looks like things might start to appreciate. But the DAO could vote to do that. So I hate to overuse the word interesting, but the DAO actually gets a lot more interesting now with quadratic voting, and the single large accounts, us included, have proportionately less power than some of the smaller holders with this new mathematical model. So yeah, anything like that can be considered, put forward, and voted on. That's simple.
Yep, for sure. We could take Treasury funds, we could take CU, and increase the allocation on that front. Obviously, that would depend on the market coming back to ensure there's obviously more ETH value against CU in the DEX, but there's certainly, and that's certainly an option for the DAO to consider.
How much available cash will be left for a new builder to come in after LG has stopped withdrawing from the Treasury? It's sort of hard to estimate.
At current, it's about $500,000 at current prices. Between
obviously
ecosystem fund and all of that other stuff, right? The goal here is ETH 2 to 3x's over the next 6 to 12 months, and you're sitting on probably about $1.5 million to as much as $2 million worth of incentives. Obviously, IRL revenue flows coming in will increase that and top that up, but that's roughly the ballpark numbers. It's certainly not nothing, and there, I would say, is still high potential for a builder to come in, take this on, and have it succeed. And I think that's where things get kind of interesting. Is like LG is obviously, or I should say, Laguna Labs now is very incentivized to see this thing work. So I would be very open to even potentially giving out a chunk of LG's remaining tokens to new builders. There's a lot of flexibility there because we're incentivized to see this thing succeed and not go to zero. So I'm certainly open, and obviously I've been chatting extensively with SJ and John since they came forward with various gaming ideas and proposals. And I expect to continue to try to support those who want to come in and carry this forward.
Yeah, and also the paradigm has changed a lot. So who's to say that someone else doesn't come forward with another idea or some beautifully simple concept or whatever. So trying to think about this from a future lens without being overly optimistic, but recognizing that this is enough money that somebody who's got a really cool idea in a developing country where it's relatively cost effective could take this and run with it. And crazier things have happened, like stuff like Pixelmon comes to mind, where it was a total meme dead project, got taken over by a new party, and it actually has resurged and found a sign of life. So crazier things have happened with IPs that have less funding and less stuff established around them. Let's see here. Crazy Gamer 16 said, so there's no new games coming, and is it going to be built around the old NFT? If you're asking about Neo Olympus, no, Neo Olympus will not utilize unicorn NFTs in any way. If you're asking about kind of the bridge of the IPs, like I said, we're going to have some sort of a whitelist system so that CU community members can get a guaranteed mint if they're so inclined. But there's not going to be like burn unicorns to get a mint or they're totally separate IP project funding. Just totally new thing.
Yeah, as far as CU-related games, I mean, obviously there's SJ's project, Tower Defense related. There's John's project, which is John here? John is here. A lot more nebulous, not to call you out, John. I don't think people know much about what you're doing. John is also considering other IPs to build on, is my current understanding. But you have two projects that are community-run. obviously we have a fully on-chain gaming proposal, a lot of the code, or some of the code work done for that already, that I think is very interesting and very compelling, just given how it sets up the system with the Uniforge, matching the Shadow Forge, this final kind of strategic risk-like battle in the Dark Forest, which I really like. I do think there will be a few groups that come forward interested in securing funding for the fully on-chain game to bring it to market. And I think they're going to be pretty reasonable in terms of cost. And that was just some people reached out to me over the weekend as the news has kind of circulated. So I think there will be some exciting opportunities on that front, for the community to evaluate and see if we can't find a good partner on.
One person did ask, how much is the Neo Olympus mint? Anything you want to tease around that, Aaron?
Nope. Other than it's not going to be very high cost. Not going to be very high cost. One of the major lessons learned was not optimizing for a shitload of mint revenue.
Yeah. Excited about other forms of revenue. So yeah, we're going to try to keep the mint kind of as low as possible. Let me put it that way. Jackie Ace, again, I don't know if you want to share any numbers here, but he asked, how much funding have you received for Neo Olympus?
About $1 million. The sad reality is, to other builders and funders in the space, all the shit we've been through with CU is very much a positive and not a negative. Very few projects have actually shipped what we've shipped and learned what we have. And again, you take a bet on whether or not I've learned and this team has learned, and people very clearly are.
Exciting. Aldan, let's see here. I love the direct verbiage. Exciting my ass, CU is dead, just say it. Anyways, when is the Neo Olympus mint? Anything we want to tease or share around timelines?
Not at this time.
Okay. Guess I can say we do need some time to build stuff, right? We've been focused on CU up until this point, so it's not going to be super fast. There's not going to be a mint coming next month or anything like that. I can say that pretty confidently. We still have some close up to do here. All right. Most of the questions. Anything you want to say blockchain related about Gods of Olympus? I do see a question about that, but I imagine it's an announcement for a future time.
Announcement for a future time.
Yeah.
Jackie Ace asked a good question. The reality is, maybe someone else can do better than I did, right? So it's fine to leave CU in a state where it has potential to turn the corner. I get many people are completely ready to give up on it. I'd rather not. I think the IRL stuff is very exciting and has potential, right? So, there's no reason to just completely drain and move on. So.
Yeah, and I really do appreciate how hard it is to contextualize all of this licensing and IP and merch stuff. It feels like we've been talking about it for a year and a half, and we've seen virtually nothing other than some T-shirts and some hats and stuff. And I hear you, and I've felt the same. But also going to these events and talking to like the Forgotten Wizards folks who have a deal that's in the works right now and have a comic book, and some of these others that are like, people that are in the periphery of the Pudgy Penguins that are very much in this space. When I talk to them and show them the assets that we have and kind of share our general vision and plan and roadmap, most of them have like pretty positive responses and reaffirm that like, no, you guys are kind of on the right path. This is like a multi-year timeline. This stuff isn't easy. It is like a 10% game, very much like startups and businesses. But if you can hit it, the rewards are absolutely worth the effort and cost, right? What you can do if you get in Walmart or you get on Netflix or Amazon Prime, it's not that you make all this money from the show, it's that the show gets produced basically for free on someone else's dime, and then you get all of this leverage by saying, look, we cracked through when all of these other brands couldn't, and you can leverage that for a number of different things, IRL, digital, what have you. So I know it sounds a little crazy, but it really, I do really feel confident about it. And even if we end up not being able to make it work, I do still think the expected value equation is pretty balanced, and the cost relative to the potential outcome is absolutely worth it. So I apologize that we don't have more to show for it, but also that's just kind of the name of the game with this stuff. It moves at a completely different speed and product cycle than the turbo speed we're used to with blockchain and gaming. And a year is forever in blockchain gaming. A year is nothing in the traditional licensing world. Just all context to keep in mind. If anybody wants to come up and chat with us, Sparkly is our shepherd that keeps that stuff organized. But if anyone wants to request, happy to take some voice questions. I had a question for the quadratic voting. That's going to have to be a proposal by itself, correct, Aaron?
Yes, that will be coming forward shortly.
Okay, so that'll be the first step. Are we planning to vote pass on that, or is that one we'll abstain from and let the community have the final decision?
I'm going to vote it through, and we'll see if this goes Lord of the Flies or if something happens here.
Okay, got it.
This is one that, it's effectively a vote that removes us from supermajority control and leaves it in the hands of the community for the most part. I mean, if, it certainly drastically reduces our power and removes our ability to the supermajority right in the charter.
Do you want to quickly, maybe just for non-technical folks that are I don't know what quadratic voting is, just kind of give a quick high-level definition of just conceptually how that works and why it reduces our supermajority?
Votes are basically counted quadratically, and so you're kind of taking the square root of the sum of the votes, kind of. And as a result, the largest accounts with a shitload of votes are going to be can effectively get outvoted by a large number of smaller accounts voting in the opposite direction, right? So it removes the whale ability to control the DAO, right? Which in our case is important, right? So anyway, it very simply just kind of reduces the overall voting power of highly concentrated voting blocks.
Got it. So it's almost like diminishing returns for every additional vote that you have. So the small guys get full power of their votes, and the richer you are and the more stuff or more tokens you have, each additional token, it's not just linear plus one vote, but it goes down a little bit over time. So it helps lift up the little guy, so to speak, I guess is maybe a way you could summarize it. Got it. Looking forward to seeing Jackie Ace's proposal of just putting all of the funds in the treasury towards Neo Olympus. Didn't expect that one to come forward. But it's an example of there's a lot of different ways that this could go. So looking forward to those law forums.
Buddy. I unfollowed you a long time ago, buddy. Appreciate you being here. A little late, but appreciate you being here.
All right. Any other questions? We still got 10 more minutes before the hour. Obviously, we can go a little over if we still have some burning questions, but and obviously we'll be hanging around in Discord as well. If I know this stuff there's like a lot of information all at once. I'm definitely one of those people that has to digest, and then in 5 hours I'll have 10 more questions that I couldn't think of on the spot. So no worries if you're also in that boat. We'll be around, and serious discussions can certainly continue. Trying to think if I have any other questions. And we have quadratic voting in the DAO right now, but I think it only applies to proposals that are more than two choices, correct? And most of our proposals have been binary, either A or B, and that's where it hasn't applied. So as just another PSA, for any of the proposals that we've had that were multiple choice in the past, it's an example of quadratic voting if the concept is at all confusing.
I mean, time traveler, to answer your questions, it's certainly possible if you guys wanted to do. The problem is you're going to have to come and negotiate for what you want in Neo Olympus, and I have very little desire to weigh that project down with something unrelated, quite frankly. So I think it would be a very tough sell on that front. I'm already not doing a private sell, forcing our investors into a very small slice under the team allocation, right? There's going to be 10% of the token supply for team and investors in total, right? 90% for the community. There's a really big lock drop against the realm shards and things of that nature. So I've kind of got them structured in a way that certainly takes what we've learned. And again, it I think positions Neo Olympus for success. With crypto unicorns, we tried to hit a very specific segment of the market. We failed in a lot of respects to do that. And with Neo Olympus, I'm very, very, very focused on taking the lessons that we learned and applying them to a new IP and just trying not to again, started on the right foot, so completely kind of winding CU down and just throwing all of that into Neo Olympus to me is not necessarily the right, way to go, but anything is certainly possible now. So I will look out for proposals in the forums and we can chat further on it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and just to be clear, Lady Dead Bear, the quadratic voting is the exact response to that concern. This is a big change where the supermajority is no longer going to have the same effect that it did. So, no, I mean, if you're saying we could rebuy the supermajority by buying up CU tokens, yes, theoretically, anyone has the power to do that. The question is it cost effective, and how much money are you spending on tokens relative to whatever access to capital you're gaining by being able to control the treasury. So that's just the game theory of the DAO. But no, once the quadratic voting proposal goes through and passes, then we won't have that control to stop the community from being able to vote on stuff like we did before.
I'll be, to answer Lady Dead Bear, God, that name gets me every time. I love it. I will be as involved, as the community is going to allow, I guess, if you're talking about CU. So I'll be in the forums. I do not think I will run for the council again, just given sentiment. I think Cuckoo speaks to most people's sentiment. I quote unquote gambled things away and lost. Regardless of how true that happens to be, it doesn't matter. That's the sentiment, So you're going to see me support things in the forum. I'll make it very clear in terms of how Laguna plans to vote with its tokens on upcoming proposals and things of that nature. Obviously, to the extent needed around just managing the sites and making sure bug fixes come through and communicating with the vault team, make sure rewards continue to be distributed for the CU stuff. Obviously, I'm going to talk to the Zy Foundation today. So no, I'm not going away at all. But I certainly will be taking a reduced role compared to what I have now.
Yeah, I work for Laguna Labs. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Zyori.
I'll be focused mostly on Neo Olympus. Obviously I own a lot of unicorns and stuff, so it's not like I'm just gone. In terms of the council, I think I'm termed out as well, so I won't be on the future councils, but I'm around. I'm not going anywhere. Kind of live and breathe blockchain gaming at this point in my life. So officially, unofficially, you can always run stuff by me, and I'm here to be a catalyst to try to make as much order out of this chaos as possible. That's kind of my personal goal. So, sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Tom Travel's asking a good question here. Without LG drawing from the treasury, what is the estimated monthly, quarterly cost just to keep what existing, I think is what he's asking. I think it's probably about $15,000 a month or so. It's not very expensive. To just keep everything up, keep running things, again, doing payouts. If we do a HODL leaderboard, there'd be some ongoing live ops work there, but yeah, it's something like that. So. Yeah, I mean, I will not argue with people about what happened. I kept the burn high. I bet that ETH would continue to appreciate. Obviously, cutting burn and firing a ton of people at the beginning of the year was something we did consider, and I chose not to. So I will, that's the hill that I died on there. I think the end reality of cutting burn, you would have seen the CU token price continue to collapse down to zero over just a longer time frame. That's the hill I died on. Everybody can kind of make up their own conclusions, but I'm certainly done arguing with people that don't even understand the basic mechanics of what we did there. So again, thanks for the feedback on that front, Lady Dead Bear, and I've seen that you're going to be joining the council and carrying things forward. And I honestly wish you all the best on that front, and I will do what I can to support in a reduced role going forward.
Yeah, and to tackle John Paragon's question about the pitch and the proposal, would Neo Olympus be interested in doing some kind of war between the unicorns and the gods or whatever the creatures are? I think the question is, or the answer is maybe. It kind of depends. Devil's in the details, right? It depends who, what, when, where, what's required, what's the state of Neo Olympus, that kind of thing. But totally. I mean, I don't think there's any issue with doing, some sort of, battle or war or crossover thing if, John Paragon's able to stand up a game and people are playing it and excited and vice versa. I don't have any hard blockers there, but to get a firm yes, obviously we just have to chew through the details of the whole thing and then come to a decision. But totally, I think the concept of communities battling other communities to try to cross-pollinate is a very sound framework and something most games would benefit from by doing more of. I mean, that was always our attempt with the old Pirate Nations and Sunflower Land and Kitty Inu and all these other potential collaborations that we attempted over the last year and a half are all a byproduct of believing in that framework, that it's more important to reach across the aisle than fit across the aisle. So absolutely, John, let's do it. Let's find a way to make it work, man.
Thanks, Tom Traveler. Yeah, I'll be, obviously, we'll send out an announcement post my meeting with the Zy Foundation later today. And we'll go from there.
Definitely. When John Paragon name change to John Wick. These are the important questions. All right. Anything else, gang? Not in a big rush to get out of here, but it looks like we are starting to wind down a little bit. When's the next town hall? Not sure. Whenever we have enough to talk about that it's worth doing one. TBD. Let's see what happens in the DAO now that we've thrown all of this out there and committed to these changes. I can see a lot of different threads forming over the next couple of weeks. So it does feel palpably unpredictable in terms of what the community decides to do. Everything from nobody wants to do anything and that's it, and it all just kind of drifts away and the treasury just sits there, to people submitting all sorts of creative proposals with what to do with this money. So there is definitely a part of me that is curious to see what the aftermath looks like in terms of the DAO and the forums and stuff. All right. Anything else, Aaron, that you can think of or want to throw out there before we kind of wind this one down?
I'm sorry that we're in this state. This has not been fun for any of us, and it's just been one string of bad news that started in July 4th, on July 4th, and has continued for the last few months. So I'm going to do what I can with the foundation today to try to leave us in the best state possible. And then I think from there, it's time to step back and see what the community can do here. Many will see that as a cop-out. I think on the other side of it, I'm very, very hopeful that we see a path to the IRL expansion, to a fully on-chain game or one of the community-run games getting funding. And again, I hope to see a brighter future for this project on the other side of it. And anyway, looking forward to seeing how that works. Again, it's either going to go Lord of the Flies or it's going to work. And one way or the other, it sure will be an interesting final experiment for what we have here.
Absolutely. I agree with the sentiment that the last couple of months have been very stressful and chaotic and just very uncertain about what the exact path forward will be. So at least we're out of that limbo state, and now we kind of know the current state of affairs. Yeah, I'm absolutely right there with you. And I can't stop thinking about the fact that it really feels like we are on the cusp of just crypto in general doing a pretty large run. And there is a world where rising tides really can lift all boats, even boats that probably shouldn't be floating in most normal circumstances can still kind of rise to the top. We've seen it in past cycles, and I don't see any reason why it's not going to repeat itself. And there is some part of like, man, the difference between being right or wrong might have only been a week. And when we see ETH go over 3K, I'm going to be sitting there scratching the back of my neck like, God, we were so close. So it really does hurt. It stings. It's one of those like, sometimes you're really right, sometimes you're really wrong. But I am excited to see this next chapter of the DAO. I do value decentralization, and I've always wanted to believe that if you put enough of the right people in a sandbox and give them the control of the sandbox, that sometimes maybe really cool shit will come out of it that you never would have thought of ahead of time. So very optimistic. I don't want to be too rose-tinted glasses with it, but I believe in the power of the DAO. I really do. And I believe in the passion of the token holders. So yeah, like I said, if anybody wants to hop in my DMs or chat or, yell at me or whatever, feel free. I'm around today and tomorrow. And if you have any more follow-up questions or thoughts, we're here to assist in the navigation. That's all we can do at this point, I think. We are where we are, so now all we can do is try to make the best of it.
Thanks, all. I'll be around as well. Happy to chat with anyone interested. Otherwise, we'll see you in the Discords and in the forum.
All right, gang. Take care. We'll see ya.